everyone. What's going on, hustlers? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Tave, and I am here with my partner in crime, Sam White. And we have a very, very special guest here today. We have Mr. Jason, who's here to tell us about his government contracting journey and share a little bit of his story. If you guys are interested in government contracting, if you're looking for information about it, you've come to the right place. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Any constructive criticism is always appreciated. Without further ado, I will let Sam introduce himself, and then we will give Mr. Jason the floor.
Yeah, I'm Sam. It's a pleasure to be back. It's been a while since we've done one of these, but yeah, it's good to be here speaking to the guys and to Jason. And yeah, Jason, always a good place to start, my man, is tell us a bit about yourself and how you actually got into government contracting.
All right. Well, my name is Jason Yonner. I don't mind. I'm from San Antonio, Texas. The way I got into government contracting is a friend of mine. He's actually my business partner. He's in fuels marketing. One day he was complaining about something. He said, I can't believe we're hauling this load of fuel. And I asked him about it. I'm in the oil field. That's what I do for a living outside of this until I can get this moving to not do that. Mm-hmm. So we share that in common. And he explained it. I says, we're hauling this fuel from the military base there to there. I said, well, do you want to know what he's getting paid? So I did some digging, looking for the contract, and that turned me down the rabbit hole that most people go. They go to the middleman concept of idea. So my friend's company hauls the fuel for a different individual that lives 3 states away. He's probably never even been to his state. And he's making a good bit of money. And the other person takes all the risk, all the certification. So that got us started. Mm-hmm. But then I started looking at the intrinsic risk of doing services. And there is a risk. If that person in that contract are 3 states away and they don't do the job, you better be there.
Yep.
Then I started hearing people say, stay away from DLA. I had 3 people tell me to stay away from DLA. And anytime after a long learning process through investing in the markets and different things, anytime anybody tells you to stay away from something, you need to go take a look at it.
There you go.
And that's exactly what I did. And Day was the name they mentioned. He said, well, if you're going to look at it, go look at this guy, Day Cantave. So that's how I ended up with Day.
Sweet. Swimming against the current. Always a fruitful strategy.
It is, because if everybody else is not willing to do that one extra thing, that one extra barrier that they put in the way that somebody else is not going to do, that's less competition that I have to deal with.
Yep. You know what they say, there's no traffic in the extra mile. So if you're willing to go the extra mile, you're dealing with a lot less competition. So
that's true. That is very true. So that's how we got started. Once we got into DLA, everything seems like it's going to be rosy until you get into it. and we'll probably share a little bit of this later. But once you get into it, you find that, hey, this is quite a few things to get hammered out.
Correct.
That's where, being solo dolo, as my friend Ivan says, it can be tough.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not, I'm glad you brought that up, because we always want to make it clear, like, not a get rich quick scheme, not something that it's just like, I'm just going to show up and then I'm going to plug and play and then the money is going to magically appear into my account. However, if you are willing to do the work, and then if you are willing to kind of crack the code, then there's a bunch of awesome stuff on the other side of it. And as you're going through the process now, as you know, of fulfilling the contracts that you have across your desk now, once you kind of figure it out, it's kind of like I don't want to say one size fits all, but once you got the formula, you kind of got the formula. You might add some paprika, you might add some salt, you might add some pepper.
100%.
It's all the same. It's all the same base.
Absolutely. So and I don't know, I'll let Sam ask his next question.
Yeah, so the next question really is more around, you touched on a bit of what you were doing before, but what kind of life was like before for you, before getting into government contracting?
So I've done a lot. I've waited tables, I've bussed tables, I've cooked, I've cleaned, I've scrubbed floors. I've worked in the oil field for, I think this is my 12th year now. And the reason I got involved is because my better half said, "Hey, you need a job with some insurance."
Mm.
So I went out there, and I'm not afraid of hard work. 12-hour days, hour and a half ride one way, no problem. I've got you. But over time, you realize that, as Day will tell you, you invoke an opportunity cost for every single thing you do. And the oil field is generous, but you are trading your time for somebody else's money, and they can tell you at any point they no longer need you.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things about being an entrepreneur is you are the only person you really have to answer to.
This is true.
But on the other side of that token, if you don't answer to yourself enough, you're not going to get fed.
Nobody's coming to save you.
Nobody.
Nobody is coming to save you. So
And
you
this
were
is a
working
point
in
I
the.
will get to in a little bit when we talk about some of the things that will get you ahead.
Mm-hmm. So you were working in the oil field, or you were doing a bunch of different jobs prior, and then you were working in the oil field for kind of some of the like insurance benefits, kind of like the like the incentive packages, I guess as they
Certainly.
would call like here in the states. And then you decided based off of that, you were like, well, I don't want to be at somebody else, not beck and call, but like in terms of the ability to show up every day and then have work waiting for you every day, or like kind of the stability of like that your own business provides. Like if I get up and go to work every day, then I know something's going to happen every day. Whereas when you're under the guise of being an employee, which there's nothing wrong with, I'm an employee, but somebody's like, hey, listen, we don't need you today, there's no work for you today, right? Then I guess that was like the deciding factor that kind of caused you to make that switch.
No, yes, you're right, but more so the deciding factor. My company got sold.
Okay.
I worked for a company that I believe had a heart,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not saying my current company doesn't. I still work there. I still respect them. They have never done anything wrong to me ever. Um, but it that change when it happened, it was like, whoa. I thought I was going to be with you guys till I was 65 years old and was going to
Yeah.
ride off into the sunset with my pension and my 401k. And now we just got flipped on our
Mm-hmm.
head.
Mm-hmm.
And, sometimes you got to roll with the punches and you got to be okay with change. But it also made me realize that if I want to be more in charge of what happens to me and to my family, then I also need either a complete new revenue stream
Mm-hmm.
or an additional revenue stream. And right now it's an additional revenue stream, like I said, until I no longer have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I will part good ways with them. They have not done me wrong in any way. But I will also smile when these contracts are what is feeding me.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So like talk to us a little bit about like what were some of your biggest concerns before making that pivot, right? Because leaving the stability of, a paycheck every 2 weeks or every 4 weeks or every single week, 401k match, health insurance, deciding I'm gonna take less time there, or I'm gonna invoke the opportunity cost of like less sleep or time with my family
Yep.
to go provide this, right? So what were some of your biggest concerns before, one, government contracting, then two, working with us?
So some of my biggest concerns is, like you said, there are only 24 hours in one day.
Mm-hmm.
In order to maintain my job, I
Mm-hmm.
work 4 days on and 4 days off. So I have 4 days off in a row. I
Gotcha.
can do me for 4 days. But I work 12 hours a day and it's an hour and a half on each side. So it's 15 hours. I go
Mm.
home, I go to work in the dark, I come home in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I have to lose sleep
Yeah.
to do this.
Yeah.
I have to lose time with my family, my daughter, my 7 year old.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I'd like to give a little shout out to her. She's a up and coming YouTuber in her own mind. and she will be tickled that she believes that I'm going to make you popular and me better looking by being on YouTube.
Oh, I love that. She's gonna well surpass what we've got
Uh,
going on. And it'll be like one of those like butterfly effect things when
I,
she's famous and they'll be like, yeah, her dad showed
I
up
hope
in like a
so.
random YouTube video years ago.
But so the thing that really got me is I thought, well, you have to give up something to
Mm-hmm.
do this.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I think I've kind of forgotten where what the question was when I talked about my daughter.
No, no, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. Kids have that effect. What was like your biggest concern before getting
Oh,
into government contracting and then before working with us?
so like I said, getting into government contracting, anytime you start a new venture, you've got to give up on something else. You have to give time away. And that is something I'm realizing, if I were still trading, I couldn't spend nearly as much time trading because I gotta be looking for products. I gotta
Yep.
be out there. I gotta be calling vendors. I gotta be doing this because this is what's gonna make my money.
Gotcha.
Now I'm gonna show you something here. It's a book that I wrote all my stuff in.
Beautiful. I like it. Old fashioned pen and paper.
Oh, absolutely. In here it says, look up VSM, look up pi. I actually spelled pi wrong. Look up WAF, look up, and then right here on the other page it says look up 8BPE2. And what that is 8 Bravo Papa Echo 2.
I know that number.
You know that number. So I was in financial trading. I've tried my damnedest
Mm-hmm.
since 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've ever tried,
Mm-hmm.
you will come across YouTubers that have, oh, I've got the plan for you. I've got the thing for you. None of it can you verify. You can't
Mm-hmm.
look at their book. You can't look at their trading strategy. You can't look at any of it.
Mm-hmm.
They can tell you that when this little moving thing crosses that little moving thing and does this and that, that's my secret. That's going to make you all the money in the world. You have no way to know.
Yep.
And even if you did know that it was profitable, it doesn't mean that you could do it.
Yep.
Okay. But I could look up that cage code and look at everything that you've been a part of.
Yep.
I could even look up the details of the contracts that you've been a part of.
You look up what we sold. You can look up when we sold it. You can look up who we sold it to. You can look up the
Exactly.
date that the contract was awarded and issued and signed. You can look up not just the agency that we sold it to. You can look up the agency that allocated the tax dollars. It's black and white. Men lie, women lie. Numbers don't. So
And for those of you that are listening to this and sometime in the future, the way to look it up is to look up DLA cage code lookup. Just put in that alphanumeric there, and you can look up everything he's done. Given that, I was willing to jump on a first call.
gotcha.
Okay. Given that, I said, okay, look, this guy obviously knows what he's talking about. He's done it. Now let's get in there and talk to him for a little bit and see what he's like. Because this, despite being behind a computer, behind, you know, uh, calling vendors or emails and quotes and stuff like that, is a people business.
Yep.
And when I talked to you, it was the authenticity. It was the fact that, hey, look, this guy's not trying to blow smoke. He's done the stuff and he's willing to share with me what he did to get there. He isn't going to be able to hold my hand and, push me along and make me get there. Because I'll tell you what, you can take Day's course all you want, but if you don't make the phone calls and you don't put in the work, it's not going to happen for you.
Action is the only thing that matters. I can tell you how to make the money, but I can't make the money for you.
That's exactly what I was looking to say. You can show me how to do it, but you can't do it for me.
Yep.
So I think the other part of your question was, what did I look for in with you specifically?
Yeah.
That's it. Authenticity and
Mm-hmm.
the verifiable facts. It's
Got
all there. For those of you that don't know, go look up at FPDS. You can look up all the country. You look it all up.
Yep. Yep. It's taxpayer dollars. Like it has to be documented. Ever since 1972 on FPDS, every single contract, every single transaction that's been listed on either SAM.gov or DIBS, you can find it right there. It's taxpayer dollars, so men lie, women lie, numbers don't. I couldn't hide it. I couldn't lie and be like, listen, we did 50, even though actually did 24. You guys can go look it up, right? So it keeps everybody accountable. So I'll let Sam kind of take this next one, but tell us a little bit about like from the time when you started researching government contracting to like now.
Wow.
Um, or Sam, you've got this one. You've got this one. I'm not going to steal your
Yeah,
thunder.
well, I mean, everyone's going to want to know, Jason, like, after you spoke with us, because as we said, we can show you how to do it. It's just whether you
Oh,
did. But everyone's going to want to know what's actually changed since you spoke to us, and
so
where is
absolutely.
your company now?
So
Have you scaled?
I will tell you that when I got into the class, it's like drinking from a fire hose.
It is
I'm
a
lucky.
lot.
It's recorded. You can your class is recorded. You can go back and you can go through it and back through it. So I've recently won my first contracts, and you said over and over again, and this cannot be overstated at all. Getting the contract is the easy part.
Yep.
Now, I think I've got day beat. I think your first sale was power strips for like $9, right?
So the first company's sale was for $9. My power strips, it was like a box or like a,
Okay.
a group of like six of them, and they were $7 each. It was for $42. I'll never forget it.
$4.38.
Listen, that's
Four
four
dollars and
dollars.
38 cents worth of sweat, anxiety. I have never sweat. I've never had anxiety over $4.38 worth of anything in my life. But when that contract came through, when the award came through, I thought, um, I'm not going to demonetize you, but this just got real.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It has been tough, and I'm glad. Everything that could have gone wrong so far that I know of has gone wrong. The award person didn't put it into VSM.
They didn't upload. I remember that. Yeah, you texted me. And
Didn't.
you're like, yeah, it's not in
So
VSM.
so here's I'm gonna give a sneak peek. Here's one of the things you get with the class. He's sitting right there. Jay, man, I got a problem. It's not here. What do I do?
But then you dropped me a line. You dropped me a
Yeah,
line, and I
that
hit
no,
you
that's
back.
exactly what I'm saying. And within a few minutes, if he's available, bing, there it is. Oh, okay, that's what I do. All right. So they didn't put it into VSM. I entered in all this information incorrectly. I learned that you can call the help desk. I can do this and that. Just about everything has gone wrong with that $4.38 $4.38 worth of parts has gone wrong. They've gone out, they've shipped out, and I hope due to all the labeling and all this and that, that DLA will get their parts and they will love those connectors.
That
Um,
$4.38 worth
worth
of
those
worth
worth
of
of
connectors. However, your first one, because you've seen almost everything that can go wrong. Now for the next one, let's say it's $4,000, $4,038. If that same stuff goes wrong,
not a
you've got
problem.
you've got all the experience that you need to handle it. And now the cool thing about it is like the proof of concept. Proof of concept doesn't care about the dollar value. Past performance, they don't really care about the dollar value. They just care. Jason showed us he could get the parts exactly what we were looking for. He could get the exact form, fit, and function of the parts that we were looking for. He was able to receive them, package them, inspect them, and ship them. Past performance doesn't care about the dollar value. So now you've got that underneath your belt. And when the time comes for any other future connectors or anything else that's related to that, they're like, oh, this guy sold this stuff before. He's a lot more viable than somebody that's never sold this stuff before.
The other thing that you get with the class, and I don't know if anybody still does shout outs. I'm 48 years old. And if you have not noticed, I do not meet very many of the criteria for a set aside. Um, what you get is I want to thank Ivan Knight, Rudy Cardenas, Rico Teamer,
Great
and
guys.
probably a couple people that I am absolutely forgetting. And for that, I apologize. The network of people that you get, Rico specifically told me, he's like, hey, man, he lives not that far from here. He says,
Yeah, he's in Texas as well, and Rudy's in Texas as well.
mm-hmm, sure is. Rudy actually called me up to thank me or to congratulate me. And, he called me up out of the blue one day and he says, hey, if you need any help, you just let me know. I don't know how many contracts Rudy's closed by now, but he's closed enough. And so that's another thing that you get. They see that you're willing to take that extra step, so they're willing to invest in you because now you're part of the group with them.
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
going to look at you and say, okay, well, hey, he was willing to go through the crucible, and he's still here. So I'm going to be willing to spend my time to help him. Now, one thing that you said, and I've taken this to heart, is it's not, well, what can you do for me? I started out the call, I think, with at least two of them is, well, what can I do for you?
Yep.
How can I help you?
Yep.
And if there's any way that I could help them, absolutely.
Drumming up business for other people is the quickest and easiest way to build a relationship. And I think we talked about this in Ignore to Award. Is like whenever you're dealing with your vendors, it's not about how much money can you make, what price point can you get the material at. It's how much business can I drum up for this person. If this person's selling these things at $1,000 a pop, and I know I could potentially sell them for $2,000, but I might sell them at only $1,500, so that way I can ensure I win the contract, and then I can buy $10,000 worth of merchandise from these people, right? That's the easiest way to establish a relationship. And then, especially when you talk about like potential partnering agreements or working with other contractors who have been there, done that, right? When you approach it with the mindset of, what can I do for you? How do I make your life better, right? Like, how do I add value to your situation? You talked about it earlier before we even started recording. You always will reap what you sow. So if you do good unto others, others will do good unto you. And that's one of the things that I can't even take credit for. It's all you guys like created. The network was put in place, but you guys have really taken it and run with it and taken care of each other. And honestly, I only go in the Skool community now to answer the questions that are like specifically for me. You guys answer all the questions that you guys ask amongst each other, and you guys take care of each other in that community of like contractors that have been there, done that, and know what it feels like to deal with the stress of like, did I ship this properly? Did I package this properly? The stress of like, I know I won this, but did I bid everything properly? Is the price accurate, right? So you guys have all gone through that together, and that's kind of where that camaraderie comes in, and that's like invaluable. You can't really put a price tag on that. So I can't even say the community that I've built. It's the community that you guys have built. And you guys take care of each other. You guys help each other out. You guys ask each other questions. And I mean, that speaks volumes about you guys. So why don't you tell us a little bit about like from the time that you started to now, right? Because you were already running another business and you've already worked a multitude of jobs. Talk to us about like the most important things that you've learned.
So some of the most important things, like when I worked in home building, there's a phrase called buying your way into the market.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you've got to take less money to get in.
Yep.
And nobody is going to make money on a $4.38 contract. You had better get free shipping, and it's not really going to happen for you. Mm-hmm. So I looked at that as buying my way into the market, and you can't be above doing that. I have won, I think, my second one. Now I lost two or three others to fellow Skool community members by mere change.
Pennies on the dollar.
It was actually 9 cents. Truck, and I see you. There and you also have a little fun with them. Hey, I shot out a little bit of fun. But that's all in good nature because it's a lonely world behind this computer in this room.
Yep.
And if you're getting told no a lot, then you're going to need some help.
Yep.
If you're not used to it, you're going to need somebody to talk to like, oh man, I feel you, keep going. Ivan has told me, hey man, don't stop. I can't tell you, he said it at least 3 times. And that was one of the things that I wanted to cover today is some of the things you do need and some of the things you don't need.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that you don't need
Mm-hmm.
is to get in your own way.
Yep.
I will tell you, I got my first contract in less than 30 days, technically. So we started out, we got incorporated. I jumped in, I got my SAM.gov, got my cage code, got my
Mm-hmm.
postcard. That was, let's see if I can get the timeline right. I think that was September. I know I take that back. It was July. It was around the 1st of July. By the 15th of July, we'd been locked out for
Mm-hmm.
re-verification.
And I remember this, and we talked about this.
Do you remember what I said?
I
How could they
remember
have
that
done
you
this
were
to
kind
me?
of. I remember you were kind of like unhappy about it at the time.
I was disgruntled. I was like, because the questions seemed as though they were out for the little guy,
Mm-hmm.
and I was very disgruntled. So I took about 3 weeks longer than I should have. And Rico reached out to me and said, he sent me the pictures and he sent me, he's like, man, this is what I did. He said, what are you doing? I said, oh man, I guess I was just disgruntled. I got it and I was upset. And, I added 3 weeks worth of time being locked out that I should not have done.
Mm-hmm.
I should have said, okay, great.
Yeah.
Here's your 17 questions. Here's the pictures of the inside and outside of my house, whatever else you want. There you go. I'll dance your dance. So after that, we got unlocked. It was technically September 12th.
Okay.
October 1st, I got my first contract.
There you go. So in reality, it took what?
3 weeks.
You got set up in mid-July, cage code around like August, and then it was about 3 weeks of being locked out. So that basically added the month of.
I was locked out for 30 days
Mm-hmm.
after.
Oh, on top of the additional 3.
Yeah. And I doubled the time that I was locked out. I shouldn't have even, no.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have been locked out for more than, 3 weeks.
But from the time that it was unlocked, and then the time where you actually were able to start working,
Absolutely.
and then you were like, listen, this is just what it takes. Cooperate. My dad says cooperate to graduate. You got to do what you got to do. Or you, as you say, dance their dance. It took you less than 30 days. Like, what is that?
Less than 30 days.
What is that? 18 would put you at 30. So you're looking at like about 3 weeks to win your first one.
Right about 21 days.
Yep.
Now, I got lucky. In that time frame, I took your class. So while I was locked out is when I had taken your class. And I'm no promo. I will tell you that I've done sales in my life. I used to sell homes, used to wait tables, I used to bartend.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not here to sell anybody anything. But I will tell you that there is a steep learning curve. And you said it once, you can either pay with time, you can pay
Time,
with
money, or mistakes. Those are the
There you
3
go.
currencies that you pay in.
And when you pay with time, you're gonna make a lot of mistakes.
You make a lot of mistakes. You might save some money, but you're gonna make some mistakes.
You're gonna make a lot of mistakes, and hopefully you save some money
Yeah.
because you probably won't. But I jumped a learning curve that would probably take most people a good 6 months. I skipped it. Because they said, hold on a second. No, this is how you do this part. This is how you do this part. This is the answer when you're filling out the RFQ, so the response to the solicitation. This is what you put here.
Mm-hmm.
I know it seems like you should put this, but you should not.
Mm-hmm.
That's one way to get your contract discarded. And, if I had never heard that, if I had never heard you say that, I've never heard that on YouTube anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of information that I got in those, what were they, 4 or 5 hours.
It was like 3 days of like actual teaching, and then you guys had the other recordings from like a couple of the other boot camps. So realistically, there's about like almost 40 hours of content, but I would say most people consume about like 25 to 30
Sure.
hours. So about like 25 hours of content.
So the thing that I gain out of that, not only do I have a personal, guy in my corner who has given me his cell phone, who has answered questions for me in the last 3 days. And that class was back in August 16th, I think.
Yeah, like
I
2
mean,
months ago. Yeah.
the money is spent and he's still there. That's the thing. In a lot of other things, once that money is spent, you get a pre-canned webinar. Here you go. Here's your trinket that I said I would give you. Have a good time. No, he's still answering questions for me to this day over where does that sticker go, or where does this thing go, or how does this work. So when you do spend the money and take the effort, you jump and you save yourself a lot of headache, because most people are going to quit
This is
long
true.
before that 6 months is up.
This is true.
That is why there's only about 8,000 companies in DLA, as you told us.
Yep.
Most people probably do not want to deal with the learning curve to get there. You want to shorten that learning curve? Find somebody who knows what they're talking about. And before you believe what they say they're talking about, go look up that cage code. That's the truth. I wish every single person that is talking about government contracting would give out the cage code.
Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Cage code 8 Bravo Papa Echo 2. It's the letters 8, or the number 8, the letters PBE, and the number 2. Go look me up. Go fact check me. Yeah, I wish I could tell you guys I was doing $100 million. That would be really, really cool, but I can't. I can show you guys a couple million in sales that we've done, but yeah, 8BPPE2. Go look us up. And I always tell people, I'm like, listen, if you speak to us and you feel like we're not a good fit, or maybe we decided we're not a good fit for you, or maybe the timing's not right, or we don't have space, we can't take on any more clients. I'm like, listen, before you do anything else, before you go jump ship or you go talk to anybody else, I'm not even saying this to pick us. Maybe there are people out there on YouTube, and I have no issue shouting them out, like Eric Coffey and Kizzy Parks. A lot of them, now granted, they're service based, but they are who they say they are. They have done the work. They've won those contracts. They've generated those dollars. But before you go with anybody, not just us, look up the cage code. See what the numbers are. Look at what the taxpayer dollars are, and look at who's getting those contracts allocated. To them, not even just a us thing, anybody thing, and any kind of government contracting. But I would always say just do your due diligence.
That's the other thing, is that you will find a lot of lifestyle YouTubers.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, you've admitted, hey, look, I have to put out a little bit of catchy stuff out there to get people's attention. I've got the attention span of a gnat. So, there is a little bit of that, but you're not going to find a lot of it. Now, I've seen a lot of YouTube out there where they're like, hey, I went from broke to $1 million, in 30 days. You're not going to get that with Day. You're going to get the truth. And the truth isn't always, it's not glamorous. It's not pretty. The truth is, when you ask me, what have I done since I won my first contract? Different? Nothing. I look for higher numbers now.
Mm-hmm.
Because the only way to scale is to go after higher numbers. Now my filter is I don't bid on anything less than $1,000.
There you go.
And the reason why is because my distributors, my vendors, will give me free shipping. They'll, because the amount that I'm purchasing now is this, I have a better chance of making that ROI on $1,000 sale as I do
on a $4 sale.
On a $4 sale. But never be too good to bend over and pick up that crumb at first.
Yep.
If you want in, sometimes that's how you get here.
We lost money on our first contract. It's the nature of the beast.
I did.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah, I tell a lot of
Sam's
people
over here like, thanks, guys.
I tell a lot of people that I enroll into the program. Like, I have to remind them, let's not run before we can walk. And prepare them. Like, there's a little bit of a mindset shift. We're not just coming in and it's as you said, $1 million in the first 30 days. Like, it doesn't exist. It's start from the ground up.
I will tell you one thing. I have done a lot of things. I've done private equity investing. I've given money, loaned money, looking for return. I've chased dollars in the market. This is the only thing that I can genuinely think of where my effort directly
Correlates.
correlates to my paycheck directly. The harder I work, meaning the more contracts, the more RFQs I respond to, there's a percentage, and that percentage holds true. And so the more I do, the more I get. And I cannot think of you reach a terminal velocity at work. I don't care how much harder you work, you're still only going to make the dollars an hour that they tell you.
Yep.
You cannot scale that. But I can tell you that this you can scale. And you don't even have to have a team of 50 people. I think Three Lions Aerospace has 10 or 15 people.
If dude, now we do, and it's not even all government contracting. When we first started, I distinctly remember we had two people working on the government side, and they quit within like a month of each other. It was me, my mom, and my dad. And my dad had the other side of the business to run, and he still had to do his flying job to put food on the table because we weren't making money from this. It was me and my mom in like a 100 foot office, just the two of us, like showing up every day, grinding. And I'm talking, we would get there at we would get there at 6 a.m. and we would leave at 8 p.m. And we did that for like 7 months straight. Two people, and we had no idea what we were doing, and we weren't making a paycheck from this. I had another business that I left, and I was working bussing tables and working at Wawa, and I left both of us. Neither of us were making money, and for 7 months, it was just the two of us doing it. So it's not like you need an entire team of people. But I'm gonna let Sam do his thing.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. The last question really for you, Jason, is what would you tell anyone who is considering or thinking of getting into doing business with a DLA and considering coaching?
The first thing I'm going to tell you is that you don't need. Now, this is something we talked about before we came on record. Is the things that you do need and the things you don't need. Do you need an LLC? No.
Yeah.
You do not. You don't have to have one.
You don't have to have an LLC. You do need to have, or you need to begin the process of getting a business so you can get a cage code. And it doesn't have to be an LLC. There's a couple of different ways that you can do it, but you do need a business in some capacity, or be willing to form a business. Just to clarify, sorry.
But you do have to have a physical address. That you do have to have. But you don't need a big fancy printer. You don't need $1,000 or $10,000 worth of equipment around you. You don't.
You don't need a warehouse.
You don't need a warehouse. This room that you see was an old bedroom. I got a bookshelf in here. I got my degree up on the wall. That's it. This is where I do my work. I package stuff in here that needs to be temperature controlled. That's it. You don't have to have a lot of space, money. You do have to be willing to dedicate time. And you have to have grit. You have to have grit. Because you are going to be told no a lot. I think Boeing actually laughed at me.
Me too.
I think they actually laughed. And they're here in San Antonio. But the one thing that you really need to do is find a good group of people to be around that know what they're talking about. Because there are a lot of people that are going to, oh yeah, man, it's great. And you're going to think that they're just burning down the world. And you're like, why am I struggling so bad? What's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? You need real people. The real people that are going to get there and go, hey man, I did this and I screwed up. I'm struggling. And then you help each other out. When you pay to jump that learning curve, and I mean that, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's what it is. You're paying to jump a learning curve. Day is a great guy. He will do a lot out of the kindness of his heart. But if you want the real sauce, not the real sauce, but the whole meal. You want the whole meal.
I do have employees to take care of. I do have overhead. But I also don't leave. I will say though, I don't leave anything out. Like there is not like next level or next tier or additional level. Once you're in, that's it. We give you everything that we use to scale from 0 to 20 million plus in revenue in under 4 years. I gave you guys all the same stuff. I gave you guys the exact documents.
Now, I will say that I paid for the success bundle, but
Yeah.
that's 2 classes in one. That is actually 2 separate topics because there is DLA and then there is surplus. Now, I haven't even touched the concept of surplus yet. We'll get there next year. We'll go talk about that later. Because for that, I do need a warehouse. I do need some space because you have to hold the product. But you're right. There is no next thing. There's the next problem that is nothing. A problem is just something that needs a solution that hadn't been found yet or that you don't know how to find yet. And that is what having good quality people is for. Because without Day, without Ivan, without Rudy, without Rico, and a dozen other people in the Skool community, I might not have gotten that first one. And I know that I would still be struggling 6 months down the line.
Nature of the beach, or the average of the 5 closest people that you hang around. And in today's society, it doesn't have to be in person. It could be people that you interact with, in a group or in a network or something like that. So.
Well, Jason, it's been incredible to hear your story. Have you got any last closing remarks that you would love to share with the community?
Like I said, don't get in your own way. Do not be afraid to start.
Mm-hmm.
Do not think that you need all this grand stuff to get you going. What you need is basically right here. I'm nothing special. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I'm definitely not good looking. I don't have, let's be honest, I don't have a whole lot of things that are set aside for me as far as DLA is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need it all. It's nice to have, but you don't need it. And the one last question I want to ask is for Sam White. Sam, it looks like it's light out behind you. Where are you in the world today?
Where is Sam White today?
The feature of the episode is my location. Today we're in Malaysia.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then where is he going to be in 2 weeks?
That's the question.
Who knows? We'll have to see. You have to tune in next time to find that out.
And that's one of the beautiful things about working for yourself. You can go where you want when you want. And you can do DLA from outside the country. You just have to ask for permission first.
Yeah, you can do. You don't have to be you don't even have to be a U.S. company. You don't have to be based in the U.S. to be able to do it. All you got to do is just get a cage code, and you just ask them for the permission, and they give it to you explicitly in writing, and you're good to go. One of our biggest vendors is from Turkey. We have other vendors, like Boeing has a huge facility in Mexico. They have a huge one in Montreal, Quebec. And then there's a lot of people a whole bunch of different manufacturers in the UK, Sam's neck of the woods. You don't have to be a US-based company to sell products to the Defense Logistics Agency. All you got to do is get your cage code and then get registered on Dibs. They'll send you the postcard. It might take a little extra week to get the postcard because it's got to cross the pond, but all you got to do is get your cage code and then you're good to go.
That's the truth.
So that's all I have for you guys today. It was an absolute pleasure speaking with Jason. I can't wait for you guys to see where Sam's going to be in a couple of weeks. I'm excited because sometimes I don't even know. I'm texting him and I'm like, yo, bro, we got to hop on a call. I got you, bro. Different time zone today. So I'm excited to see where he is in a couple of weeks. But as
I
always,
would love to see where you guys are at in a year and come back and tell you, hey, it's been a long, tough year, but this is what it's gotten me.
You guys are all more than welcome to come back. Anybody that's ever been on the channel, if you guys say, hey, I want to come back and share my progress, share my updates, you guys are way more than welcome to do that. You guys are always welcome here. We love having you guys. We love sharing you guys' stories. And for the people watching, this is probably the stuff where I get the most comments or I get the most DMs and they're like, oh yeah, that resonated with me. And sometimes you got to hear something a different way. Like sometimes Rudy has to say something a way, or Jason has to say something in a way, or Kiyoki has to say something in a certain way. and then it resonates with one of the viewers, and then you guys come on and somebody relates to your story. Maybe somebody has a daughter the same age as yours, and then like, well, I can't start because my daughter's got dance recitals, but you know what, Jason's got a 7-year-old daughter, so if he did it, then I can do it too. So these are the videos that we make that definitely spur people into taking the most action, without a doubt, 100%.
And you shouldn't let those things be the reason that you can't do something. Those should be the reasons that you do something. Because
basically the reason that you have to do something.
if anybody can turn out your employment light at any moment, you don't want that.
That is, and on that note, that's where we're gonna leave it. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, not only are we looking forward to your success, we are absolutely sure of it. Let's go print those dollars.
Do it.